I'm running into some issues here. I'm at a bookstore, and I came here to make one of my girls happy. That's it. She's out there looking for books, but I figured I might as well try to find Red Rising. So I recently got into Red Rising, and I have a lot to say about that. Bookstores are so weird. I feel like I just got lost. Give me a second. Okay, all right. Ooh, I see the Netflix logo. This must be good, right? Is it good whenever you see a Netflix logo? You can tell I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, I'm just looking for the pretty book covers. But yes, so my review on Red Rising. I see the art of pinup. See that right there? I can't open it. Sorry, I'm a perv at heart. I'm sorry. So I was inspired by some of the girlies to finally give Red Rising a try, and I'll be honest, I'm genuinely impressed as well as curious as to see what's more they have. Because at the beginning of Red Rising I was very confused, because again, I am coming from reading psychology / philosophy books. I'm a nerd, okay, in that sense. I'm a psychology nerd, philosophy nerd, and then I read One Piece and a bunch of other mangas. So reading a novel about fantasy isn't something I'm used to, at least in a novel sense, which gives me a lot of things to have to adapt to. The story takes place in Mars, which I was not expecting, because I thought it was Earth. There's no pictures, so there's no way I could have known it's Mars. Then again, it's not like I know what a picture of Mars looks like. It's just red, right? Red Rising, see what I did there? But no, so this takes place in Mars. I didn't know that. It wasn't until like halfway through chapter 1, if not chapter 2, where I didn't realize, wait a second, this is not Earth. Because they start talking about it being Mars, they start talking about the red environment and stuff like that. And apparently they're under the surface, but not on the surface. I'm still trying to get used to that. I found the Pokemon section. And also, apparently this takes place in the distant future, which I didn't find out until chapter 6/7. Please don't make the meme, okay? Until it was chapter 6/7 where they say, they mentioned something about the old Earth cities. And I was like, oh, whoa, this takes place in the future and it's not on Earth, and it's on Mars. So again, it took a long time to picture the world, because they don't give you a lot of details at first. They tell you more about who the person is, which is what we're gonna get into. This is a distant future world set up in a class system. Apparently there's colors, red being at the very last. I don't know why red is at the very last. Red is one of my favorite colors. I think it should be up there. Gold, I believe, is at the very top. Yes, and our main character is Daryl. Daryl is at the bottom. He's a hell diver, a miner, which not underage people, but miner as in coal mining and stuff like that. He deals with mining the fuel that is used to terraform Mars, if I remember correctly, which is interesting. But then they seems like miners are getting hard labor treatments, and they seem to be enslaved for the most part. Now, the biggest event that takes place in part 1, by the way, I've only read part 1, okay, so please do not spoil anything. And even if you spoil, that's fine. I'm not a guy who minds spoilers too much. It doesn't tend to ruin a lot of things unless it's a huge plot twist, right? So the biggest thing that happens in part 1 is there is a event. And during this event, it's like a competition or whatever. And Daryl is one of the winners, but he gets cheated out of it. And because he gets cheated out of it, instead of getting his prize, his wife, which is what I found surprising, because this entire time I thought Daryl was a kid or a young guy, right? Because again, I told you I'm coming from the manga section and all that stuff. So a lot of the things I read are teenage / coming of age stories. So teenage / young men, right? They're coming of age, they're going into adulthood. Now this is a whole man with a wife. So that took me by surprise. So he has a wife, and with his wife, the thing that happened is she is more political / activistic. What is whenever you're an activist doing stuff activistic, I don't know. But she's an activist, and she didn't like what was going on and how he was treated unfairly. So she sings an illegal song. And I was like, wait, an illegal song? Why would they get mad at her for that? And it kind of reminded me of the whole Bella Ciao thing that the Italians did during the World War II event. Or the whistling and the finger thing that they do in Hunger Games. You know what I'm talking about? So it's kind of like that. I'm seeing a lot of similarities, you know, like the class system and like the different sections during Hunger Games. There's a lot of similarities to a lot of like different other fantasy. So his wife is sentenced to death in a very brutal way by hanging. Another thing I also noticed is that while she's sentenced to death by hanging, because it's on Mars, there's very low gravity. So the siblings and the relatives of the person hanged have to pull them down, and that took me by surprise. I was not expecting any of that at all. During his process of grieving for this, by the way, this is Gundam, and this is more anime stuff. Oh, they got One Piece stuff. They got One Piece. Sorry, I got distracted. Anyways, but yes, so during the process of him grieving, he decided that he's going to go cut down his wife from the hanging gallows or whatever, and then, you know, give her a proper burial, which is a great thing, but that's illegal, and he gets killed from that, presumably. That's where we get to part 2, at the beginning of part 2, which is chapter 6 or 7, right? At the beginning of part 2, we found out that he isn't dead. His uncle Nero, he's Darrow, but his uncle is Nero. His uncle faked his death, and it turns out his uncle, his dad, and his wife to an extent were all associated or part of this interesting group called the Sons of Ares. Because, you know, Red, Ares, God of War. Anyways, cool. So the Sons of Ares are a terroristic or revolutionary group, depending on what side of the history you're on. You know, you could either see them as terrorists or you could see them as revolutionaries. But yes, so they are rebelling against the class system and the poor treatment of the Reds. And he is going to be their leader. And that's all I know. So, yeah. But yeah, so far I would say part 1, I'm going to try to do a review of each part, right? Part 1, I would give it like a 7 out of 10. Genuinely a 7 out of 10. It's the beginning, it's my step back into the new fantasy, reading and all that stuff. So, but yes, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Becky, shout out to Sarah, shout out to Emily and Morgan, all for suggesting this book. It was really amazing and I really enjoyed it. So Red Rising is a very good start for me. You know it wouldn't be a Syndicate video without a One Piece reference. Look, it's One Piece. One Piece. These are the Vivre cards. One Piece Vivre cards. Blue Lock. Blue Lock. Blue Lock. Oh, these are the special full color edition. I didn't know those were a thing. And then we have My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia. Gachiakuda. It's a really good anime that I recently started reading. Pretty good. I would give it like, honestly, maybe like an 8 out of 10.